to section 2, the action items. These are all items that, because the agreements were still being finalized and the materials were still being put together, they didn't make it into our consent agenda or on the agenda last time. So there aren't any presentations or anything as we go through these, but there are folks available to answer questions should we have any. So if we start with 2.1, delegating authority to purchase applied technology equipment for the semiconductor and microelectronics investment subaward. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion or questions? No? All right, well then let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That passes unanimously. So moving on to 2.2, that's the Chase Building Team for General Contractor Construction and Installation Services of the Virtual Learning Lab Virtual Learning Lab equipment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
And second, all right, any questions or discussion on 2.2? No, not hearing any. We'll call the vote. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
I am aye as well. Any opposed? No? All right, moving right along. So 2.3, the contract for Train for the Virtual Living Learning Lab equipment. Is there a motion on 2.3?
So moved.
And I'll second. Any questions or discussion on 2.3?
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
So that NC3 turnkey control, those words were like ringing a bell. I'd heard them before. So I looked through lots of former documents for 2 hours today, believe it or not, trying to see where I could find it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. In 2021, there was Jim, can't think of his last name right now, but he presented in one of the videos, and he was talking about the Living Learning Lab, something like that, and that was in 2021. So I guess that whole idea of ROI, I never knew what that meant until I asked like 8 or 9 times, but how are we making sure that all 3 of these, how are we making sure that these dollars are, I guess once we buy it, once we install it, once we build it, it's not going to really matter because it's done. But how do we know that these are important, all 3 of them really, for the integrity of the programs that we're trying to run here? And that NC3 turnkey control, those words, I'm wondering where I would have heard that before too, if anybody remembers when it was topic of conversation before.
Yeah. Chancellor or Dr. B, or I don't know who.
I can't speak to turnkey control, but in terms of, the value of the equipment, right, I think they're all separate, but I'm assuming, it's my understanding that they have identified this equipment as being part of the relevant curriculum for the Living Learning Lab. Your question is, how do they know? Greg, I guess you could speak more specifically to that.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair Taylor, members of the board, Chancellor Nassy, colleagues. Yes, to your question, faculty reviewed the list and determined what pieces of equipment they actually wanted. And it's important to note, and when you talk about the ROI, that this equipment will allow us to offer HVAC competencies not just in the existing BCT program, but for the ongoing development of non-credit options for construction and HVAC building automation systems, which these controls are aligned with. And then just to answer your question about the first group, I think the real reason that 2.1 is back on the list is because one of the pieces is over $250,000 of the $1.5 million that we're getting from the ACA and the University of Arizona.
Great. Any other questions or discussion? No? All right. Not hearing any. We'll call the vote on 2.3. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm aye as well, so that passes unanimously. All right, so moving into what was a very short public portion of the meeting, I'll make a motion for executive session, if there's a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? No? All right, then we will move into executive session. And for anybody that's watching at home, we're not going to reconvene here, so we'll adjourn the meeting from there in exec session. So we will see you at the next one. Thanks.